Hey everybody! I'm here today to show you and tell you how to attach router bits and remove them. This will be an easy tool tutorial, so let's get right into this video. I'm going to keep this short and sweet, okay? So essentially, I'm going to try and keep this short and sweet, but I know I can ramble on a little bit, so just bear with me. This is my Ryobi corded router. It's an awesome tool, and I'm going to show you how to do that process with this specific tool. If your tool is similar, the process will likely be similar, but you might also have a different process if your tool is different. So be sure to consult your owner's manual to see the process for your own specific router tool, okay? Now this router tool uses a 1-wrench system. Some router tools use a 2-wrench system. If your router uses 2 wrenches, this is not the video for you. This is for a type of router that uses a 1-wrench system with a locking mechanism. So essentially, you have a wrench here. This wrench will latch onto the collet over here, which essentially loosens and tightens the thing that holds the bit in place, okay? Sorry about that. Let's move on. I should have had a bottle of water before I started filming this, but I didn't, so we are going to move on, okay? And I promise you, I will drink some water after this because I'm like 20, 25 videos deep tonight and I really need water, okay? Anyways, this is the locking mechanism. If I push my finger on this right here, you can see it locks this in place, okay? So essentially, if I turn this without locking it in place, the whole unit's gonna turn. But if I manage to lock it in place, okay, then just the collet turns. So we need to focus on that. So essentially, you want your collet to be loose, okay? Once the collet is nice and loose, you can take your router bit, we'll get one of these bits over here, put it all the way in there, and then bring it out like maybe a 1/16 of an inch to roughly an eighth of an inch. So an 1/8 of an inch to 1/16 of an inch, give or take. Just pull it out just a bit. You don't need to take out the measuring tape. Then start tightening your collet, okay? And I like to finger tighten it first. When you get some resistance on the collet, so right now when I'm getting resistance, okay, I lock this in place. So I now push this and I lock this in place. If it doesn't lock, you might need to spin the spindle a bit. So now it's fully locking in place, okay? And I finger tighten the collet a bit more. Then I get my wrench, and now the router bit is I'm able to move it with quite a bit of pressure, but it's still staying in place when I don't apply pressure. Now I get my wrench, and while this is locked in place, I use my wrench, and I want to turn this clockwise. So I'm going to turn this clockwise like this, okay? I'm going to make sure that router bit is about a 1/16 of an inch raised above the bottom, and I turn it clockwise. I really tighten it up, okay? Once again, lock it in place, and then turn it clockwise like that, and it's really, really tight. Now, when this is locked in place, okay, when I turn the collet, the spindle is locked, so I'm just tightening the collet. So when I turn the collet and it's locked in place, the spindle is locked, right? So I'm just turning the collet, okay? And I can't turn it now, right? When I release the locking mechanism, now the whole unit spins. So now I can turn it and the whole unit spins, okay? Just like that. So essentially, when we are locking this in place, we are basically holding the spindle, which is that bottom silver piece, in place, and that black piece is the collet we are able to loosen or tighten. Okay, make sure when you're doing this, your unit is unplugged. Make sure the tool is unplugged or the battery is removed. Make sure there's no way to power it on because, you know, there's a cutting blade literally right there. So safety first, make sure it's unplugged or the battery has been removed. There's no way it can be powered on, okay? So now to remove it, it's basically the same thing, but the opposite, okay? I don't know if that makes any sense at all, but we're gonna roll with it. So I'm gonna, once again, I'm gonna lock it in place. Now, I moved this on purpose because when I go to lock it, it's not locking, right? So I need to turn this until the spindle lines up with the locking mechanism. So I'm gonna turn it. I can use my finger or the wrench. I'm gonna turn it, and I'm applying pressure on the locking mechanism as I turn it, and eventually, the locking mechanism will lock into place. So now, I can lock it, okay? When I lock it, that silver spindle is now locked. It's not gonna move, right? You can see, there's a little bit of wiggle, but it's not moving. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the wrench and I'm gonna go on the collet, that black piece over there, and I'm gonna, while it's locked in place, while I'm holding the locking mechanism, I'm gonna turn it counterclockwise. You're gonna have to give it a good amount of force, just really, there you go, counterclockwise. Once you turn it like a half turn, you could just use your finger, and it's still locked in place. Use your finger and turn that call it counterclockwise. You can then release the locking mechanism because it serves no purpose anymore, and you can remove it. Very simple. I'm going to show you again really quickly. To install it, you want to lock that in place. So lock the spindle in place, just like that. Lock it in place. Put your bit in, raise it up a little bit, finger tighten the collet, okay? And then take your wrench and turn it clockwise while that locking mechanism is locked. Nice and tightly, and there you go. Your router bit is in place. To remove it, lock that locking mechanism again, take your handy wrench and turn it counterclockwise. Once it locks in place, turn it counterclockwise. Then you can just finger loosen it and remove your router bit. That's it. And that's basically it. I mean, I've really over-communicated it. I've really explained the living daylights out of it, but I wanted to show you exactly how to do it. Like I said, this is basically for a one wrench type of router tool with a locking pin over here that you see. That's the style. If you have two wrenches, different process. Very, very somewhat similar, but different enough that you should watch a different tutorial. And also, like I said, you should consult your owner's manual for your specific router tool product to make sure that you are following the instructions for your specific tool, because it might be different. You can use this video as like a tips video. Even if it's different, you can probably take away some tips from this as well. You know, like instead of dropping the bit fully in, drop it in and then pull it out 1/8 of an inch. That can be a tip for you, even if the process is different for locking it in place, installing it, removing it, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, that's basically it. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think down below as a comment. And of course, be sure to subscribe for more great videos just like this one. And that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching.